So I was thinking today about how sometimes it's the most obvious thing that you kind of just take for granted that is the most profound, the most awe-inspiring, the greatest evidence for the existence of God. Really, it's the mind. And you just kind of don't even think about it most days. But if you strip down your mind, like your self, to its like barest essential of just like self-awareness, even thinking about your own self as the little viewer, the little person inside your mind that's like irreducible. It's like, why do you experience life? Like, why are you something instead of just a robotic electrical impulse with like you can have a program, let's say, an AI that is self-aware, right? But that's different from cognition. That's different from the spirit. And science has no answer for that because it's outside the realm of science. It's like even if you approach it by saying like, well, this is just how neurons fire and react, and this is what it feels like to be a brain, supported by a body. Like, um, what does that mean? It's like, why are you a thing? Like, why are you an identity? Right? Not the fit, not the meat. It's so it's impossible to even describe why that's profound. Is you just look at it.
You got to look at it this way, okay? You just got to look at it.
You have a body, but you're something beyond that. It's like so science can't explain it. It can never approach explaining why there is consciousness. That's a spiritual philosophical question. But here you are. And it's this identity, this self that I believe is spirit. Like this is life. It's the breath of life that comes from God. And that's, as far as I can tell, the only way to express that being itself has to come from somewhere because it wouldn't just arise in a materialistic world. You wouldn't expect, even if this meat structure, these proteins, this assembly of cells and organs were to come about, even if it had thoughts and emotions and wanted to stay alive. It's like, how do you separate sentience from like intelligence? Because you can have an intelligent computer, see, like it processes information. I mean, especially with modern AI, is like you can have a conversation with it. It is computing, it is learning. It's doing all of these things that we do. It's not doing everything that we do. You say, well, you don't know that it's not capable of that. Even a computer or an animal, let's say, even an animal that can reason and process information like in a logical way. And as far as we can tell, I mean, it looks like animals can do that. Like, is there that thing that experiences? The thing that experiences, like the thing that looks through the eyes, the thing that feels, right? And philosophically, like this is an ancient question. Like the little, it's not like there's a little person, but there's a little person in some way. Like, or is it just that like it's a brain? Like the natural explanation would be like this is a brain. This is how the brain interprets itself because it can be self-aware. Like it can look in a mirror, it can think thoughts about itself, and like this is what it feels like for that to take place. But what is there to feel besides the brain, which is matter? It's like there has to be something that's not matter or just energy in the vague sense of like electrical impulses and, chemical reactions of neurons. Like there has to be something else to it. I mean, it really seems that way, right? And again, it goes back to the fact that like it seems that way because it is fundamentally subjective. It's like you can't conduct an experiment to explain. So we're left with this essence. Like, what is the essence? What is the spirit? Why did it come about? Especially in a universe that is just so absurdly precise to bring about such an arbitrary thing. And like that, there, separate discussion, but like that is the strongest evidence. It's the anthropic principle, essentially. But with these natural laws and phenomena, it's like there's this really narrow band in which life could exist. But it's like, why even these laws and phenomena? And it's like, well, the only answer to that is the multiverse, which is why the multiverse exists as a theory. So, to answer the anthropic principle. But there's a problem there. It's like, well, this only exists in order to answer this because this is a problem for this reason. So it's um, like this points to God, so that can't be true. We have to find some other reason that this is possible. Multiverse. Oh yeah, just like infinite possibility. There's like, and all of them exist. It's like that's so absurd though, anyway, because you haven't gotten any closer to the answer of why this universe is here, right? Because for every universe in which it is like semi possible for like let's say a protein to come about, there are also an infinite number of other universes in which that is not possible. So it's like you're not any closer to answering why this universe is here. It's like, well, it's here because it's possible. So like all possible universes exist. It's like so what you're saying is there is a universe which exists that it exists that is exactly the same as this universe up until this very moment. But instead, I only lift one finger instead of two. And in the other universe, I I lift two fingers instead of one. And I did it. And then the rest of the universe, as it progresses, is entirely exactly the same. And every other possible like branch of potentiality exists. It's like that's so absurd. You're supposed to be the ones that rely on evidence. And you're just inventing this theory because it answers this problem. It's only a problem if you reject what it points to. It's like, how about just admitting that the existence of the universe, that is to say, everything is evidence for God? It's like, I think that anytime they ask, like, well, there's not even a hint of any evidence whatsoever for any God. It's like, except for literally everything. It's like, yeah, you're right, except for all things. Um, so that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But that's honestly, I don't have a nice way to say that. Like that is profoundly stupid. So there's that. But then you have the whole problem of cognition, and it's like That's not even, it's not even touching the experience that humans have had for centuries that are recorded, that are inexplicable, you know. That's a whole nother thing. There's anyway, that's what I'm thinking about today. Like, what is the mind? I don't know. What is the spirit? It exists.